Thank you for joining us. I'm Peter Dubois.
And I'm Beth Jones. First tonight, disturbing allegations have come to light about an animal rescue and sanctuary in Bucksport, where sources are saying as many as 6 dogs were found decomposing in trash bags.
For the story, we received information from former volunteers of the rescue, but they requested to remain anonymous. Our Devin Dagnalt has the details.
Felt like she was hiding something all the time. She needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
On August 7th, a warrant was issued for the arrest of the owner and founder of the Coastal Dreams Rescue and Sanctuary, Alicia Krutulesky. WVII obtained a copy of that warrant. It shows the complaints against Krutulesky include 6 counts of aggravated cruelty to animals and 1 count of cruelty to animals. According to sources who wish to remain anonymous, concerns about the treatment of the dogs under Krutulesky's care have been reported to authorities for nearly a year.
She would never allow us in to see the dogs. The only dogs we were allowed to see were the ones that she had brought out to us or that we took to events. Supposedly some dogs were aggressive. Do I believe that now? No. I think it was because of horrible conditions.
According to a rescue facility in Florida, this is one of the most recent dogs to be transferred to Coastal Dreams, a dog named Howler, who came from the Rags to Riches rescue in Florida. According to the Rags to Riches dog coordinator, Sierra Hancock, her organization had done multiple interviews and tours with Krutulesky and had heard nothing but good things about her organization.
We've had many other rescue people that have worked with us that are like, Coastal is the place to go.
Unfortunately, the decision to send Howler away for the promise of a better life is one Rags to Riches has come to regret, and they now describe Coastal Dreams Rescue and Sanctuary as a house of horrors. Howler is confirmed to be alive, but dangerously underweight.
But when I can tell you that she got Howler in April, she said she was feeding 4 cups of high calorie a day. This dog was skinnier than he has ever been in his life, almost to the point of not being alive.
That was Devin Dagnall reporting, and according to officials, the investigation into Krutulesky and Coastal Dreams is ongoing at this time. We will certainly keep you updated as more information becomes available. In other news now, there are new details on a plane crash at a Maine airport that killed 2 people during what are described as, quote, brutal weather conditions. The FAA says a single-engine Cirrus SR-22 crashed on approach to the Hancock County Bar Harbor Airport in Trenton around 12:25 p.m. on July 25th. That crash happening during very dense fog. The FAA has confirmed the pilot and passenger were the only 2 people on board the plane. The pilot was identified as 71-year-old Michael Leibowitz of Charleston, South Carolina, and the passenger was identified as 57-year-old Christina Chung of Livingston, New Jersey. The aircraft had taken off from Morristown Municipal Airport in New Jersey, and according to a preliminary report issued by the NTSB, a witness was working on runway lighting when he heard the plane go to full power and saw it make a sharp left turn before hitting the ground. That witness describing weather conditions at the time to be, quote, brutal with very poor visibility, and in fact said he could barely see the plane until just before impact. It's still not known exactly what caused the crash, but a remote data module has been recovered, which could shed more light on exactly what happened.
A scary moment at the TD Bank branch on High Street in Ellsworth this afternoon when a Chevy pickup truck crashed through the bank's front entrance. Ellsworth Police Captain Sean Willey says 83-year-old Martin Brecher of Blue Hill drove into the building when he was parking. According to Willey, Brecher hit the gas pedal instead of the brakes. Neither the driver or anyone inside the building were injured. The truck was towed from the entryway just before 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Maine State Police are investigating a fatal crash in Penobscot County. A state police spokesperson says it happened around 12:30 a.m. Saturday on the Golden Road in T3 Indian Purchase Township. 33-year-old William Toby of Rollinsford, New Hampshire was driving the vehicle when it left the road, then re-entered the roadway and went off the left side before striking a group of trees and rolling onto its side. Toby suffered minor injuries. 24-year-old Benjamin Farquhar of Millinocket was a passenger in the front seat. He was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. However, 23-year-old Benjamin Harvey of Rollinsford, New Hampshire was a passenger in the back seat. He died at the scene. The spokesperson spokesperson says it does not appear any of the occupants were wearing seatbelts, and speed and alcohol do appear to be factors in that crash. It remains under investigation.
2 separate traffic stops led to drug and firearm arrests in Orrington. The sheriff's office says on Saturday, just after 8:30 p.m., a deputy sheriff stopped a vehicle and reportedly observed indicators of illegal drug activity. A Bucksport Police K-9 was brought in and alerted on the vehicle. Multiple illegal drugs were found, including fentanyl, meth, crack, and cocaine base. The vehicle was driven by 38-year-old Michael Clinch of Carmel. Clinch faces an array of drug possession charges. Another traffic stop the following day in Orrington yielded another arrest. On Sunday night, around 8:20 p.m., a deputy sheriff stopped a vehicle on the River Road in Orrington. The sheriff's office once again bringing in a Bucksport Police K-9 who alerted on that vehicle too. They say meth, cocaine base, and a loaded .38 special handgun were found. 51-year-old Randy Weber of Stonington, 35-year-old Staffney Weber of Ellsworth, and Garrett Collins of Bucksport were arrested and charged with a variety of offenses, including drug possession and probation violation.
Well, new changes to Maine's medical and adult use cannabis laws have now taken effect. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard spoke with the director of the Maine Office of Cannabis Policy to learn more.
These are some of the biggest changes that have happened to the 2 programs since they've come into existence.
John Hudak is the director of Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy. He says that most of the changes being implemented are more on the business side and won't be seen by consumers. But there are a few things you might notice, beginning when you walk through the door of an adult use dispensary.
One of the changes that went into effect on August 9th removes the requirement that IDs be checked at the door for anyone trying to get into an adult use cannabis retail store.
According to Hudak, much like liquor stores, IDs will now be checked at the point of sale. Another law that went into effect on the 9th also seeks to mirror liquor stores by allowing minors to enter the dispensaries if accompanied by a caregiver or adult.
The argument that was made was a parent shouldn't have to choose between entering a store and leaving their child in a car.
Hudak says that the area they're most concerned when it comes to minors is items being purchased for older teens.
If a store believes that a straw purchase or a straw sale is being attempted, that is an older person purchasing for someone underage, they are still supposed to deny service in that case.
For a full list of new laws affecting the cannabis industry, you can visit the Maine Office of Cannabis Policy's website. In Augusta, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
The 2 third-party candidates running in the 2024 presidential election are now facing challenges to their ballot access in Maine. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cornel West both submitted their 4,000 to 5,000 required signatures before the deadline to qualify for the ballot here in Maine. Members of the public had until last Thursday to submit challenges to the candidates, citing why they claim the candidates don't meet the requirements. Challengers claimed that West failed to collect enough valid signatures. They also claimed Kennedy submitted more than 800 signatures over the limit allowed by law, invalidating his petition to be on the ballot. Secretary of State Shenna Bellows will hold a hearing on Wednesday to determine the validity of those claims.
So we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that. In the meantime, there's plenty to keep an eye on as well with the weather. Going to be a little bit of up and down this week.
It certainly will.
Yeah.
Today we were lucky enough to experience a very calm and temperate summer day out there.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely nice to be outside. Hopefully the overnight is looking as nice, but we'll see with the first check of our forecast.
Thank you, guys. Taking a look at that radar from afar, we can see we had those isolated showers covering most of the state today, but now those are coming to an end. They're diminishing, still moving a little bit towards the southeast, but they are going to start to diminish throughout overnight tonight, so we should be in the clear and have a nice dry night for tonight. Take a look at those high temperatures, though. Bangor in those mid-70s, 76 degrees in Bangor and Bar Harbor, same as them as well, 76 degrees. And if we extend to the southwestern portion of the state, lots of mid to upper 70s as well. But if you look off to the northwest, that's where we had some cooler temperatures. Greenville just nearly touched 70 degrees for today. And as we take a look at your overnight planner, we'll have some clouds throughout most of the night. Clouds will clear by 5 a.m. Those temperatures will hover right around the upper 50s.
All right. Looking pretty good overnight. A little cool, but not too much.
I don't mind the cool.
Me neither.
Not even a little. All right, well, still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, the Craig Brook National Fish Hatchery considering altering their hours after a recent vandalization.
And we're just a few weeks away before the start of the school year, and officials in Deer Isle are now facing multiple resignations. We'll have those stories and more when we come right back.
AMHG Works LLC, American-made home goods, located at the Rennie's Plaza in Bangor. Come check us out. We're open 7 days a week, featuring artisans, crafters, and manufacturers from across the United States, where everything is meticulously designed with care and pride. We also have a wide selection of pet accessories and treats. Let us be your new favorite store. We look forward to seeing you.
Summer won't last forever, but during Toyota's national sales event, you can make memories that will.
Come on. There you go.
Where's my mom? Just be in the moment.
Get the all-new, all-wheel drive Camry Hybrid with elevated design and value. And now you could get 5.25 financing for $60, plus get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Toyota, let's go places.
Backed by popular demand, the Lucerne Inn in Dedham presents its amazing Sunday brunch. Join us every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for a culinary experience like no other. Indulge in an exquisite selection of dishes, all while enjoying breathtaking views. Seating is limited, so reservations are recommended, but walk-ins are always welcome. The Lucerne Inn Sunday Brunch, where great food meets a spectacular view. Call today to reserve your spot.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Take an epic quest to Dragonfire Pizza in Ellsworth. Try the King Dragon Pizza, Dragonfire hot wings, meatball and mozzarella, steak and cheese, or pulled pork, calzones, stromboli, and an assortment of salads. End your quest here at Dragonfire Pizza in Ellsworth.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
It is season 7.
It's the musical game with the bestest prize. Beat Shazam, all new Tuesdays on Fox.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine. Maine has new laws around cannabis use and purchase. We'll get the rundown on what's changed. Plus, Penquist will be delivering backpacks to local kids who need them. We'll be a fly on the wall for that. We'll have these stories plus that full forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
School officials in Deer Isle are calling for emergency meetings as they face multiple resignations just weeks before the start of the school year. One of those positions includes the principal of the Deer Isle Stonington Elementary School. Our Grace Blanchard caught up with the superintendent of schools to learn more.
School Union 76, which serves Brooklyn, Sedgwick, Deer Isle, and Stonington, is facing a major staffing hit less than 2 weeks before school starts.
We found out basically Friday that the principal of the elementary school and the curriculum coordinator had resigned.
Though he could not disclose the reasons for their departures, according to the superintendent of schools, this came as a major surprise to them.
It's a little bit of an unusual situation, so we're still trying to figure out the right way to move forward, but it starts with getting positions filled.
The principal of the Deer Isle Stonington Elementary School had only been in that position for a year. The curriculum coordinator has been with them in other roles for many years and was set to assume the coordinator role this school year.
We're not interested in delaying anything. We're not interested in significantly adjusting our range of offerings. So we're a school, we want to be open, we want to provide what we're supposed to provide.
Superintendent Ross says they are working to find out how to cover these roles. However, he is concerned about the staffing issues seen throughout the state.
It kind of highlights where the state of Maine is right now in terms of staffing. It's not just Deer Isle, it's everywhere.
They still plan to move ahead with their scheduled start date of August 27th.
To tread going into the next couple of weeks, but we're just going to have to do it.
In Deer Isle, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Craig Brook National Fish Hatchery in East Orland offers public boat access and picnic areas for Alamoosic Lake and Craig Pond. But according to the hatchery, recent acts of vandalism at the boat launch areas could jeopardize the public's use of these areas. Prior to 2020, access gates were locked at 8 p.m. every night between Memorial Day and Labor Day to prevent vandalism and other prohibited actions. But according to the hatchery, since roads have been ungated, there have been multiple instances of prohibited behavior. Now they're considering closing the bathhouses and using portable units. They're also reconsidering restricting access. If you have any information on the recent vandalism or if you see any misuse of property, they ask that you contact the Hancock County Sheriff's Office or the hatchery directly. Their number is 207-902-1558.
This past Friday, the Deer Isle Causeway was shut down for several hours after reports of downed power lines at an osprey nest that caught fire. Well, according to officials from Versant Power, there have been several outages in Hancock County over the past few months due to ospreys trying to build nests on electrical infrastructure. A spokesperson for Versant Power says this is happening in coastal areas all across the country.
Ospreys see a utility pole as the perfect spot to build a nest because they like to be at the highest point overlooking the water to fish. But it becomes an issue when they try to build on electrical infrastructure, putting themselves at risk, and also putting people's power at risk.
Miner says they have taken many preventative steps to avoid incidents like this, including installing alternate nesting platforms for the federally protected birds. Versant has installed over 25 platforms throughout their service territory, and they've added 2 in the Deer Isle Stonington area this year. They say they plan to install 1 more just before the causeway. Anyone who sees an osprey nesting on or near electrical poles is encouraged to report it to Versant or your local service provider.
Glad to see them taking action after this latest incident. Hopefully that'll prevent something like this from happening, at least there, again in the immediate future.
You know, obviously it's an inconvenience to people when they lose their power for whatever reason, but you really just don't want to see wildlife harmed in any way, shape, or form. You know, they were here first. They don't understand that it's a dangerous environment. So, you know, I think really the onus is on us to protect them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, intense fighting continues near the border in between Russia and Ukraine as Ukrainian troops remain in Russian territory.
And the U.S. sending additional naval ships to the Middle East as tensions continue to build. Well, those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
For too long, veterans across Maine had to travel hundreds of miles to get the medical care they needed. So in Congress, Marine veteran Jared Golden changed that, working to build a new hospital here so veterans can get mental health and substance abuse treatment closer to home. Now Golden's working to help more veterans get the care they deserve and protect the Social Security and Medicare benefits you've earned. Tell Jared Golden to keep putting Mainers first.
Whoa, is this your new Nissan Rogue?
Yeah, crazy story. Yesterday, I was at the Nissan end of summer sales event taking a test drive, and Laura says,
"We've got somewhere to be."
And off we went. We're having a blast. And she tells me it's recommended by Consumer Reports.
These Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Rogue.
Get a low $279 per month lease on Rogue, or get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select 2024 Rogue Platinum trims.
Mainers are tough as nails. And when it comes to quitting smoking or vaping, we don't give up. Because Mainers know every quit attempt is a step in the right direction. The Maine Quit Link offers free help to stop smoking and vaping, including personalized quit plans and free nicotine gum, patches, and lozenges. Because quitting tobacco with a little extra help is more successful than quitting cold turkey. Quit like a Mainer. Enroll online at MaineQuitLink.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Fox 22 and ABC 7 have a great way for you to save money on dining out. It's half off dining from foxbangor.com. Just click on half off deals and start saving. Be watching for our featured deal every Thursday at 9 a.m. Plus, we add bonus deals all the time. You can buy $50 gift certificates for $25. Also, check out Half Off Fun while you're there too. Half Off Dining at foxbangor.com. From Fox 22 and ABC 7.
If you've been injured, call Joe, the law offices of Joe Bornstein.
Ukrainian troops are still on Russian territory after more than a week of fierce battles near the border. Fox's Greg Palcott has more.
The Ukrainian military is advancing deeper into Russian territory, continuing a stunning advance in the Kursk region that started almost a week ago and has yet to be contained by Russian forces. Over the weekend, the Ukrainian government confirmed its military is directly involved in the fighting, which President Volodymyr Zelensky says is defensive retaliation for cross-border attacks coming from the region.
Since the beginning of this summer alone, almost 2,000 strikes have been made from Kursk. Artillery, mortars, drones, and every one of these strikes deserves a fair response.
Russian officials say more than 76,000 civilians have evacuated from border areas, and Ukrainian forces now hold at least 28 settlements in Russian territory. Vladimir Putin held an emergency meeting on Monday, vowing to stop the Ukrainians and claiming it's an attempt to distract against a Russian offensive in Donbass.
The enemy, with the help of his Western masters, is fulfilling their will, and the enemy seeks to improve its negotiating positions in the future.
There are also concerns that the Ukrainians could be using American weapons during their Kursk offensive, which could be seen as a dangerous escalation by Moscow. But the Pentagon claims the Ukrainian attacks are defensive.
They are taking actions to protect themselves from attacks that are coming from a region that are within the U.S. policy of where they can operate.
The Kremlin says it's sending more reinforcements to the Kursk region to push the Ukrainians back across the border. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
The U.S. military is surging naval assets into the Middle East as the region teeters on the brink of a wider war. Fox's Jeff Paul is in Tel Aviv with more.
After some of the deadliest few days of Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, tensions are boiling over with the region on the brink of a wider war. In response to the strikes, Hezbollah fired a barrage of 30 rockets this morning at northern Israel. The Israeli Air Force later struck a Hezbollah rocket launcher. The back and forth is putting Israeli forces on high alert.
We take the declarations and statements of our enemies seriously. Therefore, we are prepared at peak readiness in offense and defense.
The U.S. is adding to the number of Navy assets in the region. With at least 12 warships now stationed in the Middle East, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln to accelerate its travel to the region and is now sending the USS Georgia, a nuclear-powered submarine armed with cruise missiles.
Are we trying to send a message? Absolutely, we're trying to send a message, which is we're looking to de-escalate the situation, that we're looking to have capabilities in the region to protect our forces while also support the defense of Israel.
Hanging in the balance, a new round of negotiations between Israel and Hamas, which the White House says could be impacted if Iran and its proxies attack Israel.
With respect to potential timing here, could be this week. We're continuing to watch it very, very closely, but we have to be prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks.
President Biden, along with the leaders of Germany, France, and the UK, all issued a joint statement. They are pushing Iran to stand down from their threats against Israel, saying any attack on Israel could threaten the security for the entire region. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Meanwhile, former President Trump's campaign says it was hacked, the intrusion into internal communications being blamed on Iran. Fox's Jillian Turner has more.
These latest attempts to interfere in U.S. elections are nothing new for the Iranian regime.
The Trump campaign claims its internal communications have been hacked by Iran, saying these documents were obtained illegally from foreign sources hostile to the United States, intended to interfere with the 2024 election and sow chaos. On Friday, Microsoft revealed Iranian hackers targeted the account of a, quote, high-ranking official on the U.S. presidential campaign back in June. With Trump himself posting the next day, "We were just informed by Microsoft Corporation that one of our many websites was hacked by the Iranian government. never a nice thing to do. Politico says its staff began receiving emails last month from someone calling themselves Robert at an AOL email address, including a February 23rd Trump campaign research dossier on Senator J.D. Vance. Republican Congressman Michael Waltz says this hack in Iran's recent assassination plot against U.S. officials, which sources say included the former president, are all part of one strategy.
They're trying to kill him, and we know from the intelligence community Iran doesn't want Trump back. Why? Because he held them accountable.
The White House says the threat of foreign election interference is real.
Any kind of report like that, any activity, we're going to take it very, very seriously.
While state and White House officials declined to comment on this case's specifics, the intelligence community has been broadcasting warnings for weeks.
I think that we need to recognize the brazenness of the Iranian regime, including right here in the United States. And I expect that we're going to see more of it.
Intelligence experts warn that this hack is likely just an opening play. They say Iran and America's other adversaries really view U.S. election season as a golden opportunity to try and inflict harm. Also breaking now, the FBI is investigating the hacking of the Trump campaign. At the State Department, Jillian Turner, Fox News.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Jody Hersey went to Brewer to highlight a local teens mission this summer.
And in sports, Maine's Eli Spalding is out in Minnesota this week for the 2024 U.S. Amateur Championship. We'll be right back.
The Quiz with Balls, all new Tuesdays at 9, 8 Central on Fox.
Central Maine Barns and Sheds, quality products built right here in Newport with a strong attention to detail. We have an incredible selection of pre-made options and would be more than happy to custom build a unit specifically for you. Central Maine Barns and Sheds has financing options available, including a rent-to-own program. We provide free delivery and setup within a 30-mile radius of any of our locations. Check out our full inventory at centralmainbarns.com or call for more information, 368-6177.
Make this a summer to share in the 3-row Kia Sorento, the tech-forward Sportage, the available all-wheel drive Seltos, or the IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus Telluride, each one recommended by Consumer Reports. This summer, visit your local Kia dealer.
Get 0.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of select new 2024 Sportage and 2024 Sorento models.
Make your boating experience even better with a Shoremaster boat lift from Hammond Lumber Company. One of the best choices you can make to protect your boat and maintain your boating lifestyle. A Shoremaster boat lift makes cleaning your boat easier and provides more convenient access too. Hammond Lumber has all the accessories you need, from lighting packages and canopies to motor systems, including Shoremaster's exclusive Whisper Winch. Take your boating experience to the next level with a Shoremaster boat lift from Hammond Lumber Company.
We've got an all-new game with a new way to play. It's Cash Pop from the Maine Lottery. You just pick one number from 1 to 15. If your number's drawn, you win. Just like that, with cash prizes up to $2,500 and 5 drawings every day. You gotta make it pop with Cash Pop.
Had enough of long lines, empty shelves, and overcrowded megastores? Discover Parity Shop and Save in Brewer, your local culinary oasis in the North Brewer Shopping Center. Revel in fresh produce, pantry must-haves, organic delights, and Aroostook County's beloved products, all affordable and high quality. Can't find an item? We'll special order it. Shop with us today and feel the difference of our family-run, community-focused grocery experience.
A new Redfin report says some homeowners don't have to have their home as a castle. They just have to have one and will make sacrifices to get it. The report says 1 in 5 prospective homeowners would trade physical safety for the right-priced home within the next year. The most willing to sacrifice safety were Gen Z at 23%, millennials at 18%, Gen Xers at 17%. Only 5% of boomers would trade physical safety for a house. Now, among the other factors ANSI would-be homeowners would give up were access to their doctors, closeness to good dining, high-rated schools, and they'd make longer commutes to have an easy-priced home.
Well, for many people, steep housing costs are putting the American dream of homeownership farther out of reach. But a new initiative is aiming to revamp the way most traditional homes are built. Fox's Deborah Valentine takes a closer look at how it could help drive down prices.
If home is where the heart is, the ongoing affordable housing crisis impacting millions nationwide has the country looking like it may need a heart transplant.
People at the lower end of the income spectrum just having a harder time finding housing that they can buy and are much more in the rental market these days.
But together with his colleagues at Purdue University, Professor James Braun believes the Next House initiative could provide solutions. The program aims at uniting engineering experts to create a fully automated factory-built housing industry in the future. Unlike traditional forms of home construction, which can hinder the budgeting and timeliness of new builds, Braun says assembling homes inside factory settings can provide more financial perks for buyers.
You can imagine trying to build something on site and getting all the people together, coordinated to all the materials and everything. Doing it in factory is much more according to a schedule, can be done much quicker. There's an advantage of economies of scale in terms of purchasing.
Braun envisions a future where buying a home is as easy as going to a website and entering the stats of the home you want. That specific model would then be built inside of a factory and delivered to the buyer's land once completed.
You have to work with local people too for a foundation and all that, but you know what it's going to cost, you know what it's going to be delivered, you get all the features that you want.
One of the next steps for the Next House initiative is to create a large-scale phototyping and testing facility at Purdue. Deborah Valentine, Fox News.
COVID-19 cases are on the rise as summer presses on, and health experts are pointing to several factors behind that surge. But as the nation prepares for the back-to-school season, it could create even more opportunities for that virus to spread. Fox's Deborah Valentine takes a closer look at the rise in infections and ways to help prevent you and your loved ones from becoming seriously ill.
This season, it's not just the temperatures that are high. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is reporting elevated numbers of summer COVID-19 cases. Researchers have been studying coronavirus levels in wastewater nationwide to gauge which direction infections are heading.
The CDC is estimating that approximately 26 states are either high or very high right now for COVID-19 infections.
While the CDC says national COVID-19 cases are up, officials point to Texas, California, Florida, and North Carolina as states where infections are significant. Medical experts say these factors are behind the spike.
First of all, our historic temperatures have been forcing people inside in close proximity, which leads to disease spread. In addition, the family of variants that is currently circulating, known as flirt variants, tend to evade vaccine-induced immunity better.
The summer COVID-19 surge comes as many communities are preparing for the upcoming back-to-school season. Libby Richards of Purdue University says up to 80% of infectious disease is spread through touch.
Kids tend to not be very good at hand washing, but they are very good at putting their hands and other objects in their mouths.
But medical experts say the best way to protect yourself and others can be simple.
Stay up to date with your vaccines. It's very important to practice proper cough and sneeze hygiene.
Deborah Valentine, Fox News.
Current wildfires have burned more than 2 million acres nationwide. Almost 30,000 firefighters and support personnel are fighting the flames. All this as fire managers in California and parts of Oregon are preparing for very dry air and winds, which could cause existing fires to burn actively over the next couple days. Fox's Anna Eliopoulos has more.
The 2024 wildfire season is off to a record start with 78 large active fires nationwide. Near the Nevada-California state line, wildfires are threatening hundreds of homes. And in Oregon, more acres have burned in 2024 than any year since reliable record keeping began. A resident near Gaston, Oregon remembers the moment he knew it was time to evacuate.
Worse.
Probably 80% of the sky here was just billowing up with smoke, and then ash began to start landing. And we knew at that point, we got to get out of here.
Firefighters are still battling the nearly 300-acre Lee Falls fire, but some residents have been able to return.
We didn't know if our house was still standing. We didn't know what the situation was.
In Sacramento, the smoke has dissipated a little bit. Residents are eager to return home, but officials say it's not safe yet.
Not at this point, no. We have to make sure it's safe for them to come home first. Right now, they're still putting in line and mopping up. They're making sure there's no heat signatures.
The past fire, also in California, started behind a grocery store. Officials warn different parts of California might become more active with wildfires at different times.
Our fire season starts maybe a little bit later than down in the Sacramento area, down where it's hotter and drier. It's a good wake-up call. People need to realize that we are in fire season up here now. The fuel is dry and ready to burn.
Forecasters are predicting an intense wildfire season due in part to higher temperatures, prolonged drought, and persistent winds. In New York, Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
And you just hope that the weather conditions are favorable for those who are trying to fight the flames.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we're certainly keeping all of those firefighters in our prayers and everybody who may be in the path of one of those wildfires, that everybody comes out safely.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, stay tuned. Our full 5-day forecast is coming right up next.
All right, looks like there's a lot of rain expected throughout this week. Are we going to see a heavy downpour throughout the state of Maine, or are some of us going to stay pretty dry throughout the week? I'll have the answers coming right up.
Hotels and welfare for illegal immigrants on our dime. Washington liberal policies opened our border and ended Remain in Mexico. And Congressman Jared Golden stood by, blocking common sense solutions. Worse, Golden voted to give amnesty to millions, yet opposed more Border Patrol resources. Now our communities are flooded with illegal immigrants, and Mainers are paying the price. Tell Congressman Golden, illegal immigration is costing our communities too much. Reinstate Remain in Mexico.
Mainers, we want our stuff done.
We like to have the tools to be able to accomplish whatever project it is ourselves.
From one Mainer to another, they're great people in Sanford.
We're the people in town that offer what they need.
They're still local. I do consider them my friends.
I appreciate that they're committed to extraordinary service.
And remember,
nothing runs like a deer.
Together, we're united. Your local John Deere dealer.
Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Van Sickle Kia, makes driving a new car affordable. Right now, lease a brand new Kia Forte for just $199 a month. You get 41 miles per gallon highway and tons of technology. Or buy a brand new 2025 Kia Seltos for under $26,000. And best of all, every new Kia at Van Sickle comes with Kia's 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business, making driving affordable at Van Sickle Kia.
The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. I'm Peter Van Sickle. I guarantee it.
I was injured in a motorcycle accident and called Joe Bornstein's office for a free case evaluation. These guys are really good. They work hard and they really do fight for you. I was able to recover from my injuries while they took care of all the important details, and there were a lot of them. I highly recommend the law offices of Joe Bornstein to anyone injured in a motorcycle accident. For those who ride, keep Joe by your side.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
What kind of a sick world do you live in?
A birthday challenge that's no cakewalk.
It's a little bit reckless.
MasterChef Generations. 2 all-new hours Wednesday on Fox.
Let's take a look at those highs for today. Bangor got right up to 76 degrees. So did Bar Harbor as well. So those temperatures were very similar from the coast into the inland areas. And if we look down to the southwestern portion of the state, lots of similar temperatures as well in those mid to upper 70s. But if you look to the northwest, that's where we had some cooler temperatures today. Greenville at only 70 degrees for the high today. And areas to the west of that were probably cooler in those upper 60s. As we go into those morning lows, though, looks like we'll be in the mid 50s for tonight. Looks like Bangor 55 degrees. Deer Isle a little bit warmer at 61, and we see those upper 50s off to the east and Wesley, and some much cooler temperatures off to the west as well, right around 50 degrees. But as we continue on into tomorrow, it's going to be another warm day. We can see Bangor getting up to 84 degrees, 79 in Deer Isle, and lots of areas in those low 80s and even some upper 70s mixed in there as well. We see Monson at 78 degrees. Taking a look at that temperature trend, we have those nice summer temperatures throughout much of the week. We'll see we do cool off a little bit Wednesday and Thursday, but we're just just still going to be in those upper 70s, so still some warm weather. Back into those low 80s Friday and Saturday, then we'll cool off a little bit Sunday into Monday, back into those mid 70s. Taking a look at that humidity out there, nothing too bad. We got dew points right around the mid 50s. We'll get a little bit muggy at times, especially going into Thursday afternoon, lasting throughout Friday. Not too much though. Humidity will be in there until we get into the weekend. That's when it's going to get pretty muggy. We'll have those dew points right around the mid 60s, so that'll be something we have to keep an eye on going into the weekend. But taking a look at the radar from afar, we had a few isolated showers over the area today, especially throughout most of the state of Maine, but those are coming to an end. They are starting to diminish, and we will be in the clear as we go on later into tonight. But we do have a lot more rain chances throughout this week. So let's go into tomorrow. We'll see that we do have some more isolated showers right around 4 o'clock that are going to be to the east of Bangor. And then continuing on throughout the night, we could still see some more showers and thunderstorms right around 10:30, still to the east of Bangor. These storms are taking an unusual track north to south than your usual west to east, you know. So as we continue on going into Wednesday, still just not much, showers in the area, but lots of them are going to be isolated. So it's still near the Bangor area. We could still see some showers and thunderstorms around Wednesday in the afternoon. Take a look at those wind speeds out there right now. Looks like winds are calming down. Lots of areas around 5 miles per hour. So nothing to really worry about there. And those winds are going to be calm going into tonight. So let's take a look at tonight's forecast. Low of 57 degrees. Could be pretty cooler, or a little bit cooler with mostly clear skies and those calm winds. Other than that, it is going to be a nice night tonight. And going into tomorrow, we'll be back up into those low to mid 80s, high of 83 degrees, mostly sunny and mild out there, and winds are going to be from the northwest at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's take a look at that extended forecast. Looks like Wednesday and Thursday we have some good chances for some more showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s. Then once we get into Friday and Saturday, conditions will improve with highs near 80 degrees.
All righty, thank you, Chase.
And sports is coming up next. Stay with us.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Who has the best kept secret in Penobscot County?
We do!
Welcome to Maple Lane Farms, a fifth-generation family farm that's committed to providing you with the best quality products. Our farm-raised local and sustainable meat is flash frozen to lock in the freshness and natural flavors. Experience the top-notch quality of our meat that's naturally raised without any antibiotics or hormones. Get the best of both worlds, quality and affordability. Try Maple Lane Farms today, the candy store for the carnivore.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest. Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Tonight's sports is brought to you by Driveway Maintenance Paving, located in Carmel. Driveway Maintenance Paving is your go-to for paving, seal coating, and crack filling for eastern and central Maine.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start out on the golf course. The 2024 U.S. Amateur Championship starting this week, and Maine's Eli Spalding is out there competing. CBS 13's Dave Eade caught up with the Maine Am champ ahead of the tourney.
To be honest, it still really hasn't sunk in.
Eli Spalding is getting ready for the biggest tournament of his young career, the U.S. Amateur Championship.
I mean, it feels incredible. I think to play in the USAM is such a big deal for me. really one of the biggest amateur tournaments in the whole world.
Eli punched his ticket to Hazeltine after this thrilling putt at Perputic, which sealed his first ever Maine amateur win.
To have that moment, whether it's kind of gearing down those last couple holes, and if you need to make the cut or to win a match, whatever it is, to know I've done it before is something that I think is going to really help me going forward.
Eli, who'll be heading to Loyola, Maryland in the fall, says competing at the USAM will be a great tune-up.
To have a chance to play against some of the best college players right now at the USAM is just going to be huge.
Now, Eli isn't the first Mainer to compete at the U.S. Amateur.
It was a thrill to play with Tiger and play with a great defending champion.
Back in 1995, 13-time Maine Am champ Mark Plummer went head-to-head against the great Tiger Woods in the semifinals of the U.S. Amateur Championship.
With what Mark said about playing Tiger in the USAM, it's just about going out there and believing and knowing you can do it and giving it your all.
Wishing him luck. Spalding finished the day 6 over par. Moving on now, get out the pens and the calendars, Celtics fans. As of Monday, we officially have a date for the Celtics 2024 season opener and the raising of the NBA record banner number 18. Boston will put the 2024 season in the rafters forever and begin their title defense both on October 22nd at TD Garden. That is a Tuesday night, and they'll be doing so against one of their more historic rivals, opening up the season, hosting the New York Knicks. The Celtics, as of now, are the betting favorites to win the title in 2025, with the odds just under 3-1. Their full schedule will be released later this month. To the baseball diamond now, some big news for Sea Dogs fans and Red Sox fans. We knew it was coming eventually, and the Big Three is finally moving up and out of Portland. On Sunday, the Red Sox promoting shortstop Marcelo Meyer, outfielder Roman Anthony, and catcher Kyle Teel to Triple-A Worcester. Meyer, Anthony, and Teel are the Red Sox top 3 prospects, and all 3 of them are ranked in the top 25 of all of baseball, with Meyer leading the way, clocking in at number 6. Each of them have been excellent in Portland this summer. Meyer is batting .307, Anthony leads the group with 15 homers, and Teel has 60 runs batted in. Meyer was Boston's first-round pick back in 2021. Teel also a first-round pick, this one back in 2023. Some other news with the Red Sox. The Sox have handed outfielder Jarren Duran a 2-game suspension without pay. Duran was caught on a NESN mic during Sunday's game responding to a heckling fan by using a homophobic slur. The Sox brass called a press conference on Monday to discuss the situation. President Sam Kennedy called it disappointing and unacceptable. And late Sunday night, Duran issuing this statement through the team, saying, quote, "I used a truly horrific word when responding to a fan. I feel awful knowing how many people I offended and disappointed." Duran went on to apologize to the Red Sox organization and the LGBTQ community and recognized that he fell short of his responsibility as a role model and is using the opportunity to educate himself and grow. Moving on to the football field now, a big week ahead for the Patriots, back at practice on Monday. And on Tuesday, they welcome in the Philadelphia Eagles to Gillette Stadium. The defending NFC East champs coming to Foxborough for joint practices on Tuesday and Wednesday ahead of the second preseason game on Thursday. Philly is New England's only joint practice scheduled for this season, and with only 3 preseason games, the joint practices are really important for evaluations. After only playing 1 series in last week's game against Carolina, head coach Gerard Mayo says it's also a huge week for rookie quarterback Drake May and for all the other quarterbacks.
Yeah, for all the quarterbacks, it's a huge week for those guys that really show development. Drake will play more this week for sure. But don't forget, anytime you practice against a team, like they'll get a lot of good reps against someone else, and based on that, we'll see how we'll play in the game. That's all positions. People want to say, why didn't Drake play this much or that much? Look, we had a plan, and we have a plan for this week as well.
What that plan may be, hopefully, involves a little bit more playing time. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Are you experiencing foot pain? Comfort Shoes & More has a team of experts trained in pet orthics to help you find relief. They offer tailored fittings, shoe modifications, customized orthotics, and much more for the ordinary or for the hard-to-fit foot, with fashionable and functional footwear from today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Teva, Taos, Ufus, and Birkenstocks. From running to walking, casual or dress, they have it all. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
John Brown first opened his own appliance store in Ellsworth in 1976. With his gift of storytelling, a strong work ethic, and a philosophy of putting others first, John and his wife and children saw the business prosper and grow. Today's third and fourth generation of family and their entire team continue to follow the example set by their grandparents and parents. Brown Appliance and Mattress, High Street, Ellsworth, a family tradition of quality, value, and customer service that always puts you first.
It's Toyota's national sales event. Swipe into end of summer fun with an exciting new Toyota. Whether you're paddleboarding in a RAV4, mountain biking in a Tacoma, or tubing with your best friends in a Camry, you'll find plenty to post about all summer long.
Get a national sales event deal on the all-new Tacoma 4x4, available with a powerful turbo hybrid powertrain. And every Tacoma comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance.
Come in today. Ooh, like
Toyota, let's go places.
These modular sofas are everywhere, and they're so expensive.
But this is perfect.
Ari, wait!
Let's play Dare to Compare! Bob's Modular Bob versus the competition. What are you looking for, Dad?
Wireless charging and extra storage.
Only Bob's has both. Mom?
Something family-friendly that's actually affordable.
Almost $3,000? Yikes! Now show Bob's. Only $14.99. That's only $250 per section. See how much you can save when you dare to compare. In store or at mybobs.com.
Tired of your internet service constantly letting you down? Those other providers may promise the world with their flashy advertisements, but are you truly having a good customer experience? Fear not, because there's a new player in town. Introducing GoNet Speed. No more endless hold times or automated responses. We're here to listen, support, and provide you with the exceptional service you deserve. Our fast, reliable fiber internet, it's mind-blowing. Let us show you what true internet satisfaction feels like.
These are the best ocean rescue teams on planet Earth.
You want to be a lifeguard? This is the real deal.
A post-apocalyptic heroine, a secret agent, and his team of tiny henchmen, and a rapper-turned-country artist are among the new digital DVD and music releases available to add to your home library. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin runs down the list of what's new in home entertainment.
The box office hit Despicable Me 4 tops this week's list of what's new in home entertainment. The latest installment in the popular animated franchise follows Gru and the Minions adjusting to life with new family member Gru Jr. while facing off with a new enemy. The film is available to rent or own on demand and includes 2 Minion mini-movies, Benny's Birthday and Game Over and Over.
All right, let's find these ifs and kids.
John Krasinski's star-studded fantasy adventure If stars Ryan Reynolds and Kaylee Fleming as a father-daughter duo, helping forgotten imaginary friends from being abandoned forever. Furiosa! The high-octane prequel Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, stars Anya Taylor-Joy as a younger version of the post-apocalyptic heroine who fights to make her way back home against the warlord Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, and Tom Hardy star in the 1960s set drama The Bike Riders, about the rise and fall of a Midwestern motorcycle gang. Small screen favorites to own, Chucky Season 3, which follows the murderous doll making a move to the White House, and the TV movie Monster High 2. For music fans, multi-Grammy-nominated band Foster the People are back with their 4th album, Paradise State of Mind, their first new music in 3 years. Josh Turner's 10th album, This Country Music Thing, features 11 new songs. And Post Malone's debut country album, F1 Trillion, features A-list collaborations, including Morgan Wallen, Blake Shelton, and Luke Combs. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, the mission of the Ronald McDonald House in Bangor is to provide comfort for the families of pediatric patients. But when the roof over their heads was in need of repair, a Maine-based roofing company stepped in. Our Doug Banks has the story.
Just having that burden taken away is so freeing and has given our families and our staff just such a great and hopeful look towards the future.
Families will travel far away to be by their child's side. And every year, the Ronald McDonald House in Bangor provides rooms, meals, and volunteer services for hundreds of families of pediatric patients.
It's truly becomes a home away from home for these people.
But recently, their roof was in need of repair. Initial cost estimates were around $60,000.
Price tag, absolutely shocking.
That's when Horsch Roofing stepped in to not only repair, but replace the roof free of charge. According to owner Peter Horsch, the Maine-based roofing company is part of the National Roofing Contractors Association and Roofing Alliance, which sponsors all 187 Ronald McDonald houses across the country.
And what that means is that we donate or give away roofs to all the houses across the country.
Genenbacher says this free roof repair completely changes their budget for the next 2 to 3 years, allowing them to focus on the ones who matter most.
Knowing that this is being completely covered by Horsch Roofing is really life-changing. Thankfully, they are doing it in a very condensed timeline, so our families aren't too interrupted.
Everybody needs a roof. And so it means a lot to me to be able to say to this house that you can just cross that line off your budget. We will take care of it.
In Bangor, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And sticking with the theme of giving back, finally tonight, a 13-year-old Brewer girl has found the perfect way to bag up her generosity and share it with others. Our Jody Hersey has more on Ava Burke and her giving spirit.
For 7 years, Ava Burke has enlisted the help of her family, classmates, and the community to collect new backpacks for students in need.
We got 530 backpacks this year, and over all 7 years so far, we've gotten 1,300 backpacks.
It's Burke's biggest donation to date. The teen had been storing the backpacks on the floor in her bedroom, but this year she needed a storage unit in Brewer to hold all the donations she has collected for those gearing up for school in Penobscot, Piscataquis, and Knox counties.
It feels really good to know that there are kids out there that have my backpacks.
Burke's family was there to help transport all the bags to Penquis, where students will be able to pick out one for themselves along with other school supplies. Renee Muscatel is the Community Relations Manager for Penquis.
It's unbelievable how many backpacks she's been able to raise. The whole program has about 1,200 kids registered, and she's raised over 500. That's almost half. One person's effort with all the community and businesses helping her. It's just been incredible. She's far exceeded our expectations.
Burke says she can't imagine spending her summer doing anything else.
And I really want to keep going because it just feels so great knowing that just the little thing that I'm doing over the summer is helping so many kids get what they need to go back to school.
In Bangor, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Definitely hats off to Ava. What an incredible effort and something to do, just out of the goodness of your heart. I mean, spending all that time on that mission just to help kids, it's just so fantastic to see happening.
It's funny listening to her describe it as this little thing that I'm doing over the summer. It's much more than that.
It's a big deal to kids.
It's a real big deal.
All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
I'm Carl Oberg, Chief of Police. I can always tell when somebody's lying to me.
Are you on Medicaid and in need of bladder control and incontinence products? Then stay tuned for a free offer from Active Style.
I'm embarrassed to go out in public because sometimes I have accidents. Can Medicaid help me with bladder control products?
Can I get my bladder control products delivered at no cost to me? Is there a home delivery service for bladder control products?
How would you like to have all your incontinence supplies delivered discreetly right to your door at no cost to you? You can if you're Medicaid eligible. Thanks to Active Style. At Active Style, we understand your needs and offer convenient home delivery of incontinence products for children and adults. When you call a personal consultant, someone like me will help you find the best bladder control supplies for you. Inside every product is a super absorbent core that turns liquid to gel and locks it away to help protect your skin and keep you dry. Your comfort and satisfaction are assured by our Get It Right guarantee. If the fit's not right, we'll send different products until you're completely satisfied. Plus, we'll handle all the details with your doctor and insurance. And your privacy is assured. Every order ships free right to your door in discreet boxes. Best of all, our care...
Jeff Goldblum guest host Jimmy Kimmel Live.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you.